Well, they closed down the mill and they closed down the mine. They said you can't work but pay your taxes on time. Got 3 little babies gonna starve to death or freeze. We started making white lightning, it was Grandpa's recipe. Run, rebel, run to no avail. Run, rebel, run to the Scott County Jail.
Hey everyone, happy Thursday night. You are watching the Jailhouse Informant live stream podcast here on the Historic Scott County Jail Facebook page, YouTube channel. And you're locked in for the next hour with myself and my co-host, Dr. Christy Sumner.
Hey, everybody. Glad you could join us tonight. We are very excited about tonight's guest. Last week, we were in Australia talking about the old Melbourne jail down there. This week, we're going up to Canada. Very excited about the jail we're going to be speaking, the representative that we're going to be speaking with tonight. But just a couple of things. We know we've said that we're going to make a big announcement tonight, and we are going to do that. But we're going to get Elliot on first to talk to him to really find out about the jail in Canada. And then near the end of this show, we're going to make the big announcement, and Miranda's going to take a little walk to show you actually what we're going to be discussing and what we got the keys for. So stay tuned for that. And then we also made an announcement that if you want to come in this weekend to get your Valentine's selfie with Sally, we'd love to have you come in. We do have the little Valentine's frame, so we'll get a picture of you and Sally together for Valentine's if you want to take advantage of that. You can also stay and take a tour of the jail as well. So we'll be doing that on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So come and get your selfie with Sally.
Yeah. And again, just going to say we got paranormal investigation dates open. We did announce last week that our schedule had kind of shifted. We are open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday all through the month of February. We're closed every day, but open for appointment only tours through the rest of the week if you reach out to the number below or to our website and message us. But otherwise, other than just being closed on Thursdays and Mondays, we're kind of getting back to a regular schedule, but we have tours every single night on the schedule as well as escape room games here at the jail.
Yep. And rugby, don't forget about rugby. We have investigations open at rugby as well as guided ghost hunts. And if you have 4 or more people in your party, we would gladly come out and do a lantern tour for you. So just message us here or on the Historic Rugby After Dark Facebook page. And we'd love to get you set up with a tour over at rugby, whether it be just a lantern tour or any type of paranormal investigation or guided ghost hunt.
Yeah, and we'll be talking a little bit more about all that after we do the interview. But like I said, because this is such a big announcement, we want to make sure and get to tonight's guest and then talk about all of that as well as some of the exciting things that we've got going on here at the jail and at Historic Rugby after the interview. So it's going to be closer to the 8 o'clock hour. So stick around, watch, and also wait for the interview.
Yeah, because this interview is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're speaking to Elliot tonight. Elliot is a representative of Phantoms of Yore, and he's also a representative of the SDG Jail in Cornwall, Ontario. Yep. So we're very excited to speak with him tonight. Thank you for joining us, Elliot.
Well, hello, Tennessee. Welcome to Canada.
Thank you for taking the time to come on with us tonight.
No worries.
So very conversational here. What we'd like to do is just kind of ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in the paranormal investigation world, and kind of what got you associated with that very historic jail.
Sure. So in 2018, myself and my partner, Eric, We decided to create an organization in tourism to bring people into sites that they can't normally access, and at the same time raise revenue for the sites. So the idea was to be a small niche, maybe once a month type thing, but it just snowballed. So many people want to experience a paranormal investigation. So it just started snowballing to the point where we have about 12 sites in Eastern Ontario that we host at all year round. Keeps us very busy.
Wow, sounds like it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, when you first started this company, what was the reception like when you approached these locations, such as the jail now and so the other locations that you have? Were they very receptive, or did you really have to go in and convince them that this was a revenue generating type of endeavor?
So sites that are known to be haunted, let's say, get an overwhelming amount of inquiries for private investigations, right? So I think that they saw it as a solution to open up the doors in a structured manner to come and investigate the jail. I think that my background in corrections, and as well as my best partner Eric, who's in social services, in housing, I think that helped a lot. That we have security clearances, stuff like that. So we really built a good rapport with many of the sites quite quickly. Well, it took me about a year of rapport building to get this going, but we have a very close relationship now, and I know this jail extremely well now after the years. I'm well versed in its history. And
And that's really how it goes. When you become associated with a site, you really start to live and breathe that history. Especially when, like you said, you're there by yourself tonight. You really start to develop that rapport, just with the building itself, but also with the spirits that are inside. Because that's obviously what we've experienced here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the jail you're sitting in right now?
Okay, so 1833 is the age of this jail. So
Wow.
it is very old. It is the fourth oldest jail in Canada. Now, we are in Cornwall, Ontario, so we are right on the border with the US to New York State. Akwesasne is right in between Canada and the US. So the history here is that, well, I guess we'll start with the American Revolution. So, war. America wanted its independence, and the British lost. So we had what you call loyalists who were loyal to the crown, who no longer wanted to live in America. They did not want to live into an independent America. So the loyalists came to Canada. Well, then it was Upper Canada.
Right.
And they were granted land from the crown, so they settled here. So here in this area, many of the loyalists were from Johnstown, which is in New York State.
Okay.
So they called this New Johnstown. Later, it was renamed Cornwall.
Okay.
So this whole area is settled by the people who lost in the American Revolution and, wanted to leave. So population started growing. There was need for a jail. The first jail on this site was built in 1806.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And it burnt down in 1826 or 28. And then they rebuilt this in 1833. Now, the original jail that was here was a wood frame building. It wasn't a stone building like this one here. And during the War of 1812, another American war with Canadians, it was used as a barracks for soldiers.
Okay.
Now, interestingly, in the 1930s, they did find segregation pits in the ground.
Wow.
A bunch of inmates were making the foundation for the new kitchen, and they came across these stone rooms in the ground, which would have been used for some sort of punishment or segregation, and there was no record of them or anything. So those would have belonged to that original jail.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So in 1833, this was a one-cell block jail. The rest of the jail were administrative offices. There wasn't really a need to have multiple cell blocks at that time.
Mhm.
Now into the 1850s and the 60s, they introduced 2 more cell blocks to increase the capacity because the population was growing.
Mhm.
So all of the cells in the old jail are very small, 3x7 jail cells.
Goodness.
Wow. That's
Very,
tiny.
very tiny.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, how big are your jail cells?
A little bit bigger than that. Ours are
They're
more
kind of a standard, like a 6.
Yes,
They're
more
probably
like
like
6x10, I guess, are our biggest ones.
Yeah, possibly, or
Yeah.
at least a 6x6.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so very, very tight. And when I bring you down there later, you'll be able to see really how small they are. Man of my size, I'm shoulder to shoulder with the walls
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
when I'm inside.
Did they typically just have one person in the cells, or did they still have issues with overcrowding and put multiple people in there?
Later in the future, in modern times, yeah, there was a problem here with overcrowding. So what happened with all the old jails here in Ontario, at least, is that they were deemed inhumane.
Mhm.
Okay.
They were just, the quarters were too small.
Mhm.
So in the 1980s, they started planning super jails,
Right.
so buckets. And this one closed in 2002. Others closed in like 98. So in the 90s, early 2000s, they all started shutting down, and all inmates were being sent to the super jails, a huge complex. And that's where all these jail museums kind of popped up in the early 2000s. They're heritage buildings, and we need to keep them. And you know, it's a great place to get a sense of what correctional history was like in the 19th century.
So, I mean, we're talking, if my math is right, like 168 years or something of this jail being used. And then after it closed, did it just sit vacant, or what was it? Was it used for another purpose?
It turned into a tourism
Okay.
building. I'm not quite sure the exact year. It was in the 2000s.
Okay.
But many of the other jails, like L'Oreal Jail, another jail that I work with, the same thing. They just opened up as like a museum, so people
Okay.
could come and kind of tour the old jail.
Okay. So is it owned by the state, the city, the county?
County.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just want to remind everyone there in the comments section, if you have any questions about the location, please, if you don't mind, just put them in all caps so we make sure we don't miss you as we're scrolling through.
Mm-hmm.
So in the 1980s, there was a lot of funding that got spread around to the jails
Okay.
because of this whole, it's inhumane.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So many of the jails got the funding to have an addition created. So
Okay.
this jail specifically created an addition of a 10 cell block range, which looks
Okay.
more modern, kind of like what jails look like today.
Mm-hmm.
It added a social worker's office, a chaplain's office, a nurse's room, a female cell block, just to make it more humane. The L'Oreal jail, they had a classroom added. So that part of the jail is kind of like the second building. So there's 3 buildings here. You have the more modern jail, you got the old jail, and
Okay.
then you have the governor's residence. So
Okay.
here in Canada, I'm sure in the US as well, in many cases, the governor would have lived at the jail.
Right. Yes. For, yeah.
So
For ours is the.
in that
Yeah.
photo right there that you're showing on the far left is the governor's residence.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Yeah, with ours, it was typically the jailer or the sheriff. Sometimes they were interchangeable.
Mm-hmm.
And then with our prisons, they were the warden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the turnkey also lived at the jail, and the turnkey had a room here, but the turnkey stopped living at the jail, I think, somewhere around the turn of the century.
Okay. And for those who don't know, can you describe what that term is? The
Turnkey?
Yeah.
So the not the warden, I always get mixed up because of television. So the governor had more of an administrative role. The turnkey was the one who controlled the shifting, and the inmates kind of ran the jail. The turnkey operated the jail. The governor was more administrative.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. It's probably our jailer. I
Yes.
guess.
Yeah. Okay. So when the time of its closing, or just before, what was the capacity of inmates that would be in there?
Originally, it was 36, I think.
Mhm.
And then when they added the back cell block, it went up to in the 40s.
Okay.
And then overcrowding, I think it got up to like the 70s. So they had
Oh,
people
wow.
like in more modern times sleeping on the floors, like the turnkeys room. They made a dorm here, like more for the lower risk offenders.
mhm.
They had like a dormitory, and pretty much they just fit people wherever they could, you know.
Okay.
But now we're talking about like the 1960s, 70s, 80s.
Right. Okay.
And we do have one question, not to interrupt. We'll pick back up where you were. Nancy asked, do you all still have records?
So our running issue with the jails is lost records.
Mhm.
You know, the National Archives has records. They did share some with the Historic SDG Jail. A lot of it is blacked out though, because what I've seen that they have is more 1960s and 70s. Tracking down this stuff is very difficult.
Yes.
You know, I found a lot through newspaper archival stuff. So, you know, the big news from the jails you can find in the newspapers, and you can search newspapers now because everything's digitalized all the way back to the early 19th century. So I found articles from here from 1810, 1820, 1830.
Wow.
You know, with all things associated to this jail.
Mhm.
So I've been able to find, you know, deaths that we never knew about. Interesting stories like you know, contortionist who escaped through the bars, and the guards caught him and asked him to do it again just for their entertainment.
Wow.
You know, people arrested for chicken thievery. You know, some pretty brutal crimes that occurred. You know, all sorts of stuff in the newspaper. So it's quite entertaining. It's time consuming going through it,
Yes.
but I think I pulled about, I don't know, probably like 250 articles,
Oh, wow.
you know, in the history of this jail, just to get a better sense of the history and things that have occurred here. And we found all sorts of things that we never knew about.
Mhm. Now, some of the stories that you did share with us, and you sent us a bunch of those newspaper articles. Fortunately, we just didn't have the time to go through them all, but you did mention 3 stories, and now this jail did have capital punishment at one point in its existence. So you want to talk about some of those 3 men that you mentioned?
So there were executions that took place in Cornwall pre-Confederation. Confederation is when Canada united and formed. So a lot of that stuff is really hard to find. So Confederation was 1867. So the first post-Confederation execution was Clark Brown. Now, Clark Brown was a young man who lived in Winchester. So what he did is he hopped out of a window and he grabbed an axe. He knocked on the door. His father answered, and he killed him with the axe.
Jeez.
Wow.
His little sister came down, 6 or 7 years old, and then he killed her.
Oh.
The rest of the family ran out of the house. Now, when the neighbors arrived, which his uncle was one of them, it's pitch black. So you can imagine not being able to see in 1879 at a farmhouse. You know, very rural, having nothing but, you know, an oil lantern. So what he did is he went to his little sister and tried to make her feel better. Her brains were on the floor. It was a really horrible crime. And he tried giving her water, and then he picked up the sister and threw her over the shoulder and started rambling all sorts of weird insanities, carrying her around. And she was still alive, like, you know, barely. So he said that there was a man in the field that he saw earlier, and they tried to put it on this man who came in the house, and he wrestled him away, and the man ran away. But, you know, when you go through the trial information, you know, he picked up the sister probably to have an explanation for why there was blood on him. So the whole community knew it was him. He was arrested. He was tried. There's a lot of rumors that his mother was involved in this crime.
Oh, wow.
So can't get into all of it, but there was like a property dispute. He wanted land from his father. He was newly married. And his father didn't want to give him the land. The father wanted to wait till the sisters were older, probably to give the land in dowry with the daughters once they get older. He was known to be lazy, a very strange, young, weak man. So he was executed and tried, and then 2 months later, his mother was put to trial for being involved, and she was exonerated. But it's pretty evident that the mother did have something to do with it. Because the little girl had finger marks of strangulation around her neck, which doesn't make sense as to how she died. It's almost like there was a second person that was present, and the mother was in the house. So we don't know what happened, and she ended up taking her own life on the anniversary of the deaths of her husband and daughter.
Yeah. And now was Henry was hung on the jail grounds, correct?
On Halloween night, yeah.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Jeez.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he one of the spirits that, of course, we'll talk a little more about the paranormal.
Yeah,
here.
I think he's around. We've had interactions, but I think with all of the people that died here, because this jail is just full of tragedy, full of death.
Yeah.
There isn't a place in this jail where someone did not die. Even right here where I sit, James O'Reilly, a judge, opened court and passed away. He went into the back chambers and he went to smoke a cigarette because he was having an asthma attack. And back then you smoked tobacco to open up the lungs. And he went into cardiac arrest and died. And they say if you sit in his chair, he'll touch you. Kind of the lure up here. So I think that in spirit, he would be a weaker spirit. And I think with all the other spirits here, if there are spirits here, right? I'm convinced there are, but we can't prove it. I think he would be kind of drowned out by the others.
Okay. All right. So the next person we're going to talk about is, who do we got? Peter
Belcombe.
Okay.
So he's an army man. He was a lieutenant in the army. He was having an affair with another military woman, an administrator in the military. Now, Peter was married. He had 2 children. She found out about it. After she found out about it, she was found naked in a ditch with stab wounds in the face and the chest and one through the eye. He used his rifle's bayonet to commit the act. He never admitted to the crime. It's very bizarre. So police didn't really put together where he did it. So he's from London, Ontario, which is about 5 hours or more from here. They were stationed in Quebec, somewhere near Quebec City. And why here? So the body was found in Iroquois, which is part of the counties here.
Okay.
So they were trying to figure out where, she was murdered. Because they need to know where to try him.
Right.
For murder, right? So because the body was found here, they decided to do it here because they couldn't prove where Marie was actually was murdered.
Gotcha.
But there was a cabin where they found her belongings, her clothing and her purse in a tourism cabin outside of London. I forget the town's name. So he drove her, nude in his car for over 5 hours here to this area to leave her in a ditch just for a 14-year-old boy to find her.
Wow.
Awful.
So he had really had no emotions during any of the process. Now we call him the smiling man because he always has this smirk on his face. Even when he's in cuffs, he's just kind of smirking. He wore his slippers up on the scaffold, which I find very interesting because I never heard a case where they climbed to the gallows with slippers on. Yeah, he's one of the stronger ones here for sure.
And obviously he was hung there at the jail as well.
Yeah, he climbed the gallows in his slippers.
Goodness. And then we've got, looks like Henry is next on our timeline.
Yeah, so Henry Seguin is kind of the big story in these parts with the jail. So he murdered a taxi driver or a taxi businessman. The car was found on a side road near Maxville, Ontario. He had 2 shots in the back of the head and 2 shots in the back. Now, he left his papers in a bag in there as military discharge papers, and that's what linked him to the crime, which is very unusual, because who would leave their bag with their military papers
Right.
Mhm.
in the car? So the victim, Mr. Hurd, was always known to have a lot of cash on him. So he was robbed for that cash. So Henry went on the run. Police were trying to find him. Now, months later in British Columbia, there was a bank robbery, and a man by the name of Henry Boudreau was shot in that bank robbery by police and arrested, and they took his fingerprints, and the fingerprints matched Henry Seguin, so he went by an alias in BC. So he was staying with the Labrie family, which is the image you're showing. He was staying with them, and they disappeared at the same time as the bank robbery. Henry Seguin was in possession of their belongings, and Henry even tried to sell Fred's truck. So nobody knew where the Labries went.
Okay.
So the RCMP came here to Cornwall, because what happened was that he was charged and convicted for the bank robbery, 5 years. He went to Kingston Penitentiary, which is another city here in Ontario. And then when he was there, they organized his trial to be tried for the murder of Mr. Hurd here in Cornwall. So then he was sent here to Cornwall to await trial. And he was interviewed by RCMP, and he wouldn't give any information about the Labries. All he told them was that they just went on a trip. But I read an article from one of the RCMP officers about unsolved murders, and he's convinced it was Henry Seguin. They never found anyone. Anyways, years after his execution, not his execution, his death, because he cheated the gallows, they found the bodies of the two people and their dog. And Fred was killed in the same way as Mr. Hurd in Maxville, and Jeanne was stabbed to death.
Wow.
So because he tried to sell the truck and he had their belongings, it's pretty evident that he did commit the murder. And we had some interesting experiences here in investigations where he kind of admits to it. So he cheated the hangman, so he never admitted to any of these crimes. So 2 hours before his execution was set to take place, he sent for his family representative, who was Father Villeneuve, who came with a letter from his sister. He was in the middle of writing a letter to give to him, a 32-page letter, to give to the sister, and he started convulsing and acting sick. So he ended up laying down. The jail officials thought that he was just anxious about the execution that was going to happen in just like 90 minutes. So the doctors ended up rushing in. He started just making weird gurgling sounds, unresponsive, a big mystery of how he died. Now the jail does have the investigation paperwork of this death. So they found a little aluminum capsule inside of his cell, and he had a vial in his mouth. So he took cyanide to take his own life before the execution to cheat the hangman. Now, how did he get it? Right. So the whole community, even now, thinks that it was, Father Villeneuve, the priest, came and gave it to him. Maybe the inmates in the kitchen snuck it into him. But with forensics, they were able to tell that he had it for a long time because of the amount of feces on it. So he was keeping it inside his body. Right. And it's also noted that Henry would never use the plumbing, the toilets. He always used the pail in his cell. He frequently had infections, so he was always getting enemas done through his cell, and he would go for long periods of fasting. So these are all things that kind of pointed that he was keeping something with him. So at Kingston Penitentiary, when he was there was a plot to kill one of the officers with poison by poisoning his food. Right, so this got leaked to correctional staff. So they investigated, and Henry was among one of the people, but they never found anything. So this is the poison that was mentioned in that story, right? So post his death, everything kind of comes together, like, it makes sense. But even now, many people in the community really think the priest gave it to him.
Wow.
Right? He just kept it with him the whole time. So he was planning his death for months.
Wow.
Because he knew what was going to happen to him.
That's crazy. But if you want to go out and make a different story in the end, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, there's other executions that took place here as well.
Mhm.
Many other deaths, but I mean, it's just you can't talk all about it in a 1 hour podcast, right?
Right.
Right.
So
Um,
when was capital punishment abolished there at the jail?
in the 1960s,
Okay.
1967, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, it was out in all of Canada. The death penalty was eradicated.
Okay.
Right. I think the last execution was at the Don Jail in Toronto, like 1867, I think, or 1967. Sorry.
Now, kind of jumping into the paranormal a little bit. Now, you said that this place is very well known for the paranormal. You've had TV shows and stuff that have come and filmed, which has kind of really led to the popularity of the SDG jail. Correct?
Yeah, so I mean, ghost hunters back in the day in the early 2000s were here. I think season 4 or 3 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Creepy Canada, which was a big Canadian television show, featured it. So a lot of people, know about the jail.
Mm-hmm.
Um, even during tours, people have been experiencing things for years. So shadow people, the lady in black. There's many bodies buried on the property. I don't know if your jail has, unmarked graves all around the property or not, but it's pretty common here in Canada that unclaimed bodies would be buried on the grounds of the jail.
Mm-hmm.
One person told me they think there may be hundreds. I really doubt it's in the hundreds, but we just don't know. Now, when they
Right.
built the more modern building, the jail in the back, they had to remove several bodies. So when
Wow.
you're in the tunnel system underneath that building, you're walking through burials. What
Oh,
were
wow.
burials? Just they disturbed a lot of burials by
Right.
putting in that back part, and Henry Seguin was one of them.
Oh, wow. Now that's
Yeah.
interesting. Where did they move where they move the body to?
They moved it to his parents' gravesite.
Okay.
At that point, it's just bones. So they added the name to his. His family is still here. I think he has a brother who's still alive here in Cornwall.
Mm-hmm.
I've spoken to his great nephew, I think. And I'm always trying to get more personal stories about these people because we know them as criminals. We know what they did, but but you want to learn things like
Absolutely.
like Henry Seguin, loved the violin. He made a violin in Kingston Penitentiary. His parents owned the music hall up the street.
Mhm.
And when you investigate, you want to know these little details about people,
Yeah.
to show a more human side of that investigation rather than just going, oh, you killed so and so, and you're a murderer or anything, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely leads to more interesting questions, a more personalized, like you said, investigation. So that's kind of what we do
Yeah.
here. You try to find out as much as you can about the spirits that are supposed to be in the location and try to connect with them on that level.
Yeah, and we find more often than not that when you're talking about it from that personal level, rather than asking questions, of course, about what you did and that sort of thing, we get a lot more responses that way.
Mhm.
Of course, you don't want to label the ghosts.
Mhm.
But I mean, sometimes I get personal with regard to their crimes because, some of them are really bad, and
Yeah.
kind of like want to maybe get a sense of what they were thinking or what their motivation was for doing such a heinous act on
Mhm.
someone. But yeah, I mean, a lot of tragedy has happened here. There's children's spirits here. We get their EVPs all the time, and it's just creepy. Like, I mean, back then, jails were houses of refuge. Okay.
Yep.
In Canada, poor houses weren't really being built until the early 1900s. So, early, 19th century, all the vagrants came here. And,
Mhm.
Jails were like 80% vagrants, 20% criminals.
Mhm.
Who can be cared for, and this could be the elderly, right? People with dementia, lunatics, mental health. This jail in the basement has a lunatic cell block that is now sealed off, and you can't access it. So there were trap doors on the first floor, and you would open that trap door, and you would put the lunatics into the cell blocks. So they have since concreted the floor, so those trap doors are gone. So now in the basement, there's a huge section that's just a sealed off cell block where they used to keep the
Wow.
lunatics. and it's right beside the punishment cell, which is the original segregation.
Okay.
That is wild.
Now, did they house both men and women in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just like any other jail, men and women were here. I mean, more men, of course.
Yeah.
A lot of female vagrants, were here, female lunatics. We do have a big asylum in Kingston called the Rockwood Asylum. So mostly lunatics would come here and await transfer to Rockwood. If they were they had too many people, then they'd maintain them at the jails,
Mhm.
right? If they didn't have space for them. But I mean, there is, I found an article, Margaret Cunningham, who was a lunatic here in the 1888. And she ended her own life within 2 days by starving herself, which I'm suspicious
Wow,
of, because you can't kill yourself by starving yourself in 2 days.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
And the article says she was 25 years old. So that's pretty
Mm.
bizarre, because there's a story here of a woman in black who's been seen in that hallway that I told you is 6 feet under where burials were.
Yeah.
And only children see her. And this has been reported for the last 2 decades. Children years apart describing the same thing, not knowing about that entity.
wow.
And in the paranormal, you always want to see that consistency, right? You want to see that something's being reported when they don't know about it. And it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So who is this woman in black? Right. That's the big question.
So there were actually claims of paranormal even when this was still an active jail.
I've seen a few transcripts. There's some old transcripts of interviews with guards, and I think one or two mentioned about the haunt. And I've heard in the community too that, my grandfather worked there, and he used to tell us stories, like just stuff like that, right? It's all very just oral information, nothing really documented.
Right.
But knowing the history here, you have to think, and the amount of people that passed away here.
Yeah, I mean
gotta do something.
And that's what we get here. We've had former inmates come back. We've had jailers come back and sheriffs and say, hey, I really don't believe in that stuff. But when I was here, I saw this shadow figure on the 3rd floor, or I was on the elevator and something coughed in my ear, or I was sitting at my desk and everything got shoved off my desk when I was the only person here. So we do have a lot of those stories. To your point, it's all oral, but it's extremely compelling when you have people that aren't associated with each other that come in and tell us these stories. It's very compelling, and it goes with the things that we've experienced here since we've opened the museum.
I mean, I take oral history very seriously because, as people get older and they unfortunately pass away, you lose a lot of information. So you want to get as much as that as you can. And having the public investigations, like last October, we had somebody here who said when he was a kid in the 70s, they would bring kids to the jails, kind of like a little tour while it was operating. And I said, well, do you remember the trap doors to the lunatic cells? And he said, yeah. They said that they used to tell us that if we misbehaved, they put us down there. I said, well, can you describe the door for me? Because there's no pictures of them. And he just described this big wooden door with a big metal ring that you would pull up. And it was pretty cool. So I would never know that unless I got that piece of oral history from this older man who said, I want to try ghost hunting. And they had a great time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the same, when the inmates used to throw out money here, we've had a lot of older gentlemen that have come in and said that's how they would earn their summer money, was by them throwing money out of the jail, and they would go get cigarettes and moon pies and different things here. And so obviously, if they weren't coming in and sharing those stories, and I think the last guy that came in was like in his 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard stories of the windows here at the jail too, that the kids would go and yell profanities at the offenders with their arms hanging out of the bars because they knew they couldn't do anything about it. Just stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, before we got on, you mentioned that you may be able to kind of switch over to your phone and maybe give us a walk around of the jail. You think we could do that?
Yeah, I'll just go onto my phone. I mean, the thing about these jails and all of the metal, I could lose you at some points, but it always reconnect. I just have to go to the area. So I just got to find the link here.
And while he's doing that, I'll just mention that we do have links there in the show notes that goes to not only the website, but also to the Facebook page. And then we also have contact information. If any of you all are traveling to the area and would like to check out this location, definitely do that. They've got a great website. We've been showing pictures and stuff all from that. Very informative, lots of history, lots of pictures. And then also, if you're up there, do an investigation and report back to us. Let us know how your experience were. And so we'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you want to take anybody on a collaboration investigation, we're open for that as well. So hit us up. But do stay tuned. Once we do a walk around of the jail, we will be making an interesting announcement here regarding the historic Scott County Jail. So don't go anywhere. We're loving this with Elliot, though. So this is a lot of cool information, and I'm really excited about getting the opportunity to walk around because I don't think we've had any other guests that one.
We've done two. I had two. Yeah. While you're getting that ready, Elliot, we do have a question here. Sonia asks, do you all have a map of any of the graves that are there on the property?
No, they're unmarked.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just trying to call the profile SDG and then we'll enter. And
All right.
So I'm gonna remove you and pull that one up.
All right.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes.
got you. Look at this.
So this is the courtroom.
Wow. Okay, that's much bigger than I had in my mind.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Now, do you find that we saw this last week with the jail that we talked about in Australia? Do you find that a lot of the locations there in Canada that are now museums are very well kept and very well preserved?
They could use more funding like any site. So, I mean, they do their feasibility studies. They try to figure out ways to generate income because it's a lot of work to maintain these old buildings. So, of course, they could always use more, but they do a great job at doing what they can with what they have.
And of course, the paranormal investigations are that added revenue, right? I mean, they're allowing after dark monies to come in to this location for preservation.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, 100%. So that's James O'Reilly. That's the judge that passed away.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, this is where he died, and this is where we do the presentation for the publics. This is the chambers. These are all the wardens of the county. So wardens, not as wardens as jails, but wardens of the counties up on the wall.
Okay.
This is huge.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm loving those hardwood floors.
Hopefully we get some of those cells planking while we're down there.
Yeah, that'd be great. Even the staircase is beautiful.
Yeah, no. Love the staircase here.
And that's kind of one of the things here in the States. It always seems like, these buildings, I mean, some of them you're lucky when you go in if, you don't need a tetanus shot whenever you leave because of all the paint that's just hanging off the walls and stuff. They're definitely not as well kept as and preserved as some of these areas here.
Yeah, there's a lot of jails still in Canada that, are up for sale or on the market that we hope people will, invest in, but we're talking millions with the state of some of them. So this is the visiting areas. When people came in, they would talk to their family or friends here. Lots of graffiti on this side.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, that in and of itself is the history, right?
And I'm going to see if I can just pull him up.
Yeah.
This is this originally was the governor's room. So before they built the residence, this is where he slept. Over time, it became the guards' bubble. So where all the monitors were and the, emergency contacts. And that's a little escape hatch. So if anything ever went down in terms of a riot, they could get out.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
This is an original, as far as I know in the blueprints, this was always some sort of interview room. Wintertime, they're closed for tours, so they're moving some stuff around.
Mhm.
But I mean, we did a lot of activity here, a lot of shadow people here in this area.
Wow.
This is the what was originally the turnkey room, but this turned into intake. So this is where they would see the mirror up there. This is where they would wash them, shower, give them their clothes, spread them, all that stuff.
Okay.
But originally, this is where the turnkey lived. So you got some pictures. Like, remember when I told you Peter's the smiling man?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, there.
Wow.
He has handcuffs on there. Just always smiling during his whole incarceration. It's just creepy.
Yeah. That is kind of weird.
Hmm.
This place is huge.
So as we walk through, it's the other side of the area. So 3 cell blocks. This is the original 1833 cell block.
Okay.
So this is where Henry Séguin took his life. So here's Father Villeneuve and the guard. Now his cell in the 70s was turned into solitary confinement, but originally it was the death row cell.
Wow.
So that's the size
Look
of them.
at that. Oh
Wow.
my God. That would drive me crazy.
So they're all 3x7s on the inside, but to the front where the door is, it's 3x9.
Wow.
Hmm.
So the shower wasn't and toilet wasn't in here. They put it in the 1970s. This originally was the pacing cell. So when people were on death row, this is where they could kind of walk. It was bigger. This like they turned it into a shower. On the other side is a janitor's closet.
Hmm.
Originally, it was the pacing cell, and I was told that when they did the renovations, they could see the marks in the floor of the circles that people would walk.
So the individual cells there, the 3 by the smaller cells, they didn't have bathrooms in them?
No. There was only one bathroom here, like back in the day.
Wow.
I mean, that's when plumbing came in. Originally, it was just the piss pots.
Oh my God.
Okay.
So you see, like right there.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right. So we call this one the Hells Angels cell block because in the 70s they arrested a whole bunch of Hells Angels and put them here. No Hells Angels died here. We did a lot of clanking out of the cells here all the time.
Whoa.
Wow, those are small.
So small.
Well, these are bigger than the other ones. So these are
Yeah.
actual 3x9s inside.
Yeah, but still.
The other ones are 3x7s.
Now, are all of these locks manual, or is there some type of an automatic lever that could open them all, or did the jailer have to go?
It was automatic. The original doors were inside here.
Okay.
The more modern doors, when they went electric, were placed on the outsides.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
all of the mechanisms for them have been removed, but you can see the piping still for the electrical.
Gotcha.
But the original doors were inside, so you can see the latch here.
Hmm.
So that's where they originally were.
Hmm.
Even less room.
Wow. It's a good looking jail you got, Elliot.
So my jail's the county's jail. Here's an officer lady right there. So this is called the windowless cell block because when they added the addition, they had to block out the windows.
Oh.
So it's just like the Hells Angels cell block. It's pretty much the same thing.
Okay. Yeah, we have a lot of people saying that this is a very well preserved jail. It certainly is.
Mm-hmm.
So now we are walking into the modern jail. So this was built in the late 70s to early 80s. So we are leaving the building of the original jail.
Okay.
So this, now we're underground, we're 6 feet under.
Holy.
I hate being down here alone.
We're with you, Elliot.
So this is the female cell block.
Okay.
So a lot more modern looking.
Mhm.
Now this is the creepiest place. This is the nurse's room.
Oh, look at that.
But when they buried the dead, they did it along the walls of the jail. So why I think so much activity happens back here, because this is where many of the bodies were.
Wow. Yeah, that just feels heavy. Just looks like it feels heavy.
So this is the hallway that leads to court. This is where the woman in black is seen.
Wow. That is a long hallway.
Oh, it's just get the chills down here.
Mm-hmm.
So then they would go up the stairs to go to court.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
Look at that stairwell.
But that's not the court I was in. That's the more modern courts.
Okay.
So the inmates would never have to go outside like where we're at. They had to take the inmates across the courtyard to the courthouse. But this, you just take them right up.
So this is the chaplain's room. It's just a
Wow.
room. And all this stuff is more modern. And it's the officer's room there. It's just storage now.
Mm-hmm.
Really not used for anything.
This is so cool.
Mhm.
The laundry room. There's no lights down here. So I can't really see anything. I don't have a flashlight with me.
Oh, that's okay.
General population is here. I wonder if I don't think I can turn on my light. Yeah, it says I can't. I don't have another mic with me.
Oh, that's okay. This tour is amazing.
So anyways, there's pictures of it online.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is the jail kitchen. It's more modern. Just stuff for the event this weekend.
Oh, wow. That is a big kitchen.
It's really modern. But now we're in the basement of the jail.
There are so many
So
steps
this
and corridors.
this is a shower. Strange shower. I think you pull this and
Wow.
this is some sort of strange it was used for. All right. Oh, damn. Of course, the door's closed. So this is the original punishment cell. I know that multiple people died here. I know at least 3 since the 70s.
Look at that door.
Wow.
This is where people had the worst time of their life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just the door itself looks. Wow. That's crazy.
So of course it's an echoey room, right? So if you scream, it's current. It's designed that way. Now the lunatic cells are on the other side of this wall.
Unbelievable.
So they're sealed forever.
That is unbelievable. I never even thought anything like that, where you would design it so a scream is a deterrent.
I like that. That's
Well, yeah, so you're not screaming because it just echoes and it just drives you crazy.
yeah.
Now we have a question. Was there any type of a rec yard or any type of outside yard? Did they ever get any outside time?
Oh yeah, it has a huge yard, but they built the new municipality offices. So all that's left is this yard out here. Hard to see.
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's
Yeah, I think there
stone
was a
wall.
picture flashed up before.
If you Google map the jail, you'll see what courtyard is left.
Okay.
Oh, I'm back.
Man, so many twists and turns in this building.
So here's this used to be the officers' yard. Now the executions took place in this yard. So general population, when you're up there, you're standing exactly where people were executed on the scaffold because it was built over the scaffolding place.
Oh, okay.
Okay, wow.
That'd
That's a
make,
great idea.
that'd make for an interesting night.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much all there is to see.
That's fantastic. Well, first of all, thank you for taking us on that tour. Second of all, your cell service is incredible in that building. I don't know what service you have, but darn.
Usually it's not.
I mean, that was incredible.
So whenever someone books a paranormal investigation there, they get access to the entire building, courtroom, and all.
Oh, I had to jinx it. Dang it.
Mhm.
Darn it.
Oh,
Sorry, Elliot. My bad.
I know he'll be back up. We'll give him a minute while we're waiting on. There we go.
There he is.
No, it's just my phone keeps falling asleep.
Ah.
So the question real quick that we have is, so when you investigate the jail, do you get the access to everything, the courthouse and all, the courtroom and all of that as well?
Yeah, you get everything.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
is it all night?
8 hours.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I assume you all have daytime tours as well.
From May to Labor Day in September.
Okay.
Okay.
Try to
And-
switch around.
He's going to switch over. I think.
Yeah. I'll be sure to remove that whenever, because I know it'll echo.
Oh, you mean switch back to, am I still in there?
Or you can turn it around, whichever one.
Yeah,
Whichever
I'll
one.
just turn it around.
Oh, there you go.
Did I? Hold on. Front facing. I'm not used to doing this on my phone. There we go.
Hey, there he is.
All right.
There he is. And so we just have another quick question for you. Somebody wants to know why exactly did they block off the lunatic part again?
There was no need for it in modern times. It's really inhumane, right? It's a hole with no ventilation.
Ah, okay.
So they just concreted over the floor.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
And we've got questions on charge for the paranormal. I'm just going to pull up the page right here. I know we had that pulled up here. And like I said, guys, definitely go check out their website because it's a very nice website, as well as their Facebook page that has links to all of this. And I mean, I always love seeing these locations and seeing their sites and stuff when they have a lot of information on them for people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
a
we're
great
right on the border. So if anybody's in New York, it's not a far drive.
Yeah, there you go. Everybody get your passports and let's go.
And you've definitely got to check out Phantoms of Yore because you guys have got a lot of information, or I mean, a lot of great evidence out there.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not just this. If you joined late, it's not just this jail that they've got. They've got other locations also. So you know, if you want to find out about their other locations, just hit them up, and I'm sure Elliot would be glad to fill you in.
Oh, 100%.
Now, do you all do just the paranormal investigations there, or are you all involved with like other like after dark type like flashlight tours and stuff like that there at the jail?
Yeah, so what we do are public investigations. So small
Okay.
groups come in hourly. They get given an IR camera. They get their own equipment. They go out and they ghost hunt on their own. We're not leading them around. They conduct and film their own investigation. We give them the footage. So it's they get a presentation time with me about the equipment and the history and all that. But then the rest of their night is investigating as a
Okay, sounds great.
we don't do any type of walking tours or anything like that. There used to be escape games here, but they're not running anymore.
Mhm.
But I know that the counties, think of other activities to create here as well. So, I mean, I'm sure there'll be something new this year.
Well, fantastic. Elliot, listen, you have been just a wealth of knowledge about this jail. Very interesting to talk to. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for taking us on the tour. It definitely makes it more fun and interactive on these podcasts when people are willing to do that for us. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Miranda said, all of your links and everything will be in the show notes for this podcast. So everybody go check this out. Go check out the SDG Jail. Go check out Phantoms of Yore. Just a lot of information, a very great website, very great Facebook page. I'm sure they'd love to answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah, and I know they've got evidence that's been captured there at the jail. And so we listened to a little bit of that beforehand, and you guys definitely want to check that out because they've caught some really cool stuff. We do have the link here to their Facebook page in the comments section, so that if you are tuning in later and you want to scroll through the comments, please do that. We'll also try to go back and add that to the show notes as well.
Yeah. All right, Elliot, thank you again. We really do appreciate it.
No. Well, maybe have me back on for the.
Do it.
I say you should do this again for the other jail.
Yeah, we would absolutely love to. Yes, we'd absolutely love to.
Because this is part of a big series, and so any jails that we can have on to share what they're doing, share their links, and cross promote, we would absolutely love to do that.
All right, so I'm going to talk to you for just a few seconds more. Miranda's going to go get set up because we do have a big announcement here for the Historic Scott County Jail. So you're just going to buzz in?
Yep, you should see me pull up, and what you'll do is you'll just remove him, and you'll hover over it and hit add to stage.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to go try to get ready.
So kind of sort of like you, Elliot, what we try to do here is really help preserve the history of these buildings here in our community. So we do have the Historic Scott County Jail here. We've also partnered with a utopian village of Rugby, which is about 20 minutes from here. So we lead all of the paranormal investigations there, all the guided ghost hunts, the lantern tours and such. But we're really excited because the town of Huntsville has graciously allowed us to have another historic building as well. So you're here for our big announcement tonight. So we're really excited about that.
Oh, that's great news.
Yeah. So, obviously we want to do kind of what you guys are doing and really help preserve that history, bring in those revenue dollars because one of the things that we found is after dark tourism, it definitely helps preserve these locations. And so that's why we're so excited about what you and the Phantoms of Yore are doing.
Well, it's growing. It's becoming more popular. I mean, here they're calling it dark tourism. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of interest in dark tourism, so it's snowballing, and it's more for us. It's more than we can handle because we have families, full-time professions. It's a lot. So that's why we break it down to 2 seasons, spring and fall season. Mm-hmm. In between, we just kind of, host privates and stuff like that. So when teams or shows or, anybody who wants to come in more of a privately thing, then one of us can be here rather than everybody.
Mm-hmm. Now, was there an increase after COVID? Did that interest increase? Did you find, or is it coming back to the same level as before?
We ran all through COVID.
Oh,
except for it's because the province had a limit of people, so you could only have 8 people in a building at a time. So because the way our public investigations work or the logistics around it, we only have 8 or less people in a building at a time. So we were very popular during COVID because it was one of the only things that you could do. So we actually did a lot during the pandemic, and of course it was masks on, and when the vaccine thing happened, people had to have their vaccine proofs and all that stuff. But it was probably more busy during COVID than it is now.
yeah. And that's what we found. I mean, some of the locations that we've spoken to said paranormal investigations allowed them to keep the lights on and the bills paid during COVID and the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, well, I'm going to remove you for just a few minutes. I've got Miranda on the other side. So if you want to stick around, please do so, and we'll say a proper goodbye afterwards. Otherwise, if you've got something else to do, we completely understand. But
yeah, I gotta lock up here, but I won't say bye. But I will go back and watch what the reveal is later, though.
Awesome. Elliot, you're fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it.
All right, have a great weekend.
All right, you too. Bye. All right, everybody, here we go. All right,
Now,
Miranda.
I'm not sure if you can hear me because
I can.
I am not hearing you very well. It's for some reason very, very low. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can absolutely hear you. You sound
Okay.
loud and excited. So you want to take a step back and tell everybody where you're at?
Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of back on up a little bit. So I'm going to let Chris kind of do some of the talking here, but
well, first of all, what we have to say is we want to thank Mayor Dennis Jeffers of Huntsville and the aldermen for giving us this opportunity. So as you know, they own the historic Scott County Jail. We own the business History Highways and Haunts LLC. So we rent the jail from the town of Huntsville, and so that's what we have done, and they're very excited about how we've preserved the building and how we've allowed tourism to come into the area when it might otherwise not have come. So they have graciously allowed us to now be the overseers of the historic First National Bank in Huntsville. Now, the bank was built in 1909. It is made of the same exact sandstone that the jail is made out of, and this served as a bank building really all the way up till COVID. Now, there was a period of time during the Great Depression when this jail was used as a clinic as well as a medical facility. And so we're very excited to add this to our list of buildings that we are going to help preserve. So right now, Miranda is going into the bank building here. It's a little dark.
yeah, was there more than I can actually hear you just a little bit better? For some reason, like I said, it's really low.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that needs a new bulb.
Maybe. I mean, the lights turned on before. But maybe go around the other side. Yeah, maybe go around to the other side of the check-in counter there, or the cashier counter. So this would have been where she's walking into right now. It's a little dark we don't know why, but this would have been the banker's office, and she's now going behind to what would have been the tellers. We had 2 teller windows in there. So she's behind that right now.
And we just got the keys, so we've not had the opportunity to really do much yet.
Mm-hmm. So Bob, does the building have a history of being haunted? We're not sure yet. We know that there are some haunting activities around the building. Nobody's investigated this building before. It has sat vacant since COVID. It was, like I said, the bank building up until COVID, and then it shut down. And the town of Huntsville actually bought it from First National Bank, and so now the town of Huntsville owns it, and we will be the overseers of this building. This is really cool. This is actually the old safe. This is the original safe. You can see the locking mechanism there. It's really kind of neat. And then once you go inside, again, not sure why the lights aren't turning on, but once you go inside, all of the original Safety deposit boxes are there with the original skeleton keys for each of those safety deposit boxes.
I should have brought a flashlight over.
Yeah, that's all right. People will just have to come and see it. So we have several ideas with what we're going to do with this building. We have kicked around some different ideas. We may be throwing out a poll to see what y'all recommend that we do with it, but or ask you some different questions on it. We know that this will free up some space here in the jail, so paranormal investigators will have a little bit more space here at the jail to investigate. Yeah, so this is on the other side. This is where the customers would be with the tellers.
Yeah, we know we will have exhibits in here that relate back, because not only was this used as a bank, but this was also a health department and clinic during the we know for sure during the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And so yeah, it's going to be great because it is going to give us more space inside the jail there. And actually, let me see if this light over here turns on. It might. Help.
Yeah, that one's just a little bit. There you go. But what's really interesting about it is these are original teller windows. This is the original woodwork inside the building. Of course, all of the brick outside, the sandstone. The building was built in 1909, right after the jail. Yeah, a bank escape room would be really cool. Not sure if we have the room to do it in here, but it is something that I have been kicking around, Janet. So don't think that hasn't crossed my mind, because it absolutely has.
Yes. So, but this will give us the opportunity to open up more rooms that have not been investigated on our paranormal investigations. So this is very exciting, as well as some more opportunities. And like Christy said, there are we've got ideas of what we want to do with it. But the most important thing is making it open and accessible for the community to come in for our tours. And whenever you come in to take your tour of the jail, that sort of thing. So yeah, we'll be announcing more about how we're going to be doing this, and then an anticipated opening date as to when we will have everything transitioned. So I wish that the lights were working. It's really kind of strange. I'm not sure if it's a breaker thing or what, but it just seems like everything on this end is not working.
Turn it on. But that's okay. That just gives us the opportunity to go in during a day live, and we'll do a live during the day.
That's right.
But can you step out and maybe just do a quick walk around there on the sidewalk? So
yes, I will. I just wanted to, if you can see it here. I mean, there's the original marble, the original iron teller gates here, and then what you can't see is the beautiful labeling and stuff that's in here. So I'm going to actually turn this off and come outside. I know I won't be able to hear it as well, but.
So, Bob, the bank was built in 1909. So yeah, in the early 1900s, it was built just a couple of years after the jail. And so this downtown Huntsville was a large town for this area, right? It is the county seat of Scott County, Huntsville. And so there were a lot of businesses here. The jail was built in 1909. It did operate as a bank. I'm sorry, the bank was built in 1909. It did operate as a bank really all the way up until COVID, but there was a period of time where it did close, and it was, I'll let Miranda do this real quick. There was a period of time where it was a clinic at one point. So that's what the uses were.
Those lamps.
Yep. So it has the original gaslight lamps on the side. Kim, we're in Huntsville, Tennessee. This is the bank building that was built in 1909. So we now are the people that will be in charge of this bank. We do get to open it up. Not sure if we're going to allow it for paranormal investigators per se, but it will open more space in the jail for paranormal investigators, and we'll kind of walk through that a little bit once Miranda gets back here. But it's about 150 feet from the jail. So yeah, that's kind of what is so fascinating about it. So we will be able to have tours. We'll be able to go through both of the buildings. Whether or not we can open it up for investigators, we're still working on that. But we'll definitely keep everybody
You
posted.
can't see it, but there's a nice little courtyard right here beside the bank building. That is the courthouse right across the street. Well, right across the sidewalk from the building. And we'll be posting more pictures. And I agree with Chris, doing a daytime walkthrough on that would be really cool. So
yeah,
I'm gonna actually I can show you how close it is.
All right, so there's the bank building, and she's walking back to the jail right now. So, like I said, it's about 150, 200 feet from the jail. So this is just another building we're really excited about because it has been sitting vacant since 2021. So this is going to allow us to really open this building back up to the public and really showcase that side of the history of Huntsville. As I said before, this will be part of our flashlight tours. It will be part of our, our after dark activities and events. And we'll probably move our gift shop over there as well. So that's another opportunity for that. And it will open up more rooms here at the jail for paranormal investigators to take advantage of. So it's going to be a win-win for everybody, for the historic preservation.
Okay, so I'm going to step back in here so our microphones don't cross-contaminate here. So, and then that way we can finish any announcements or anything like that.
So there's the jail. That's how close it is, guys. Scoot back over for Miranda here. But we really appreciate everybody's support on this. As you know, historic preservation for us is really paramount. And again, thank you to Dennis Jeffers, who's the mayor of Huntsville. Thank you to the aldermen who have put their trust in us to really help preserve this building. They really kind of see our vision, what we want to do with historic preservation. And so for them to really put their trust in us with this building, it really means a lot to us.
Yeah. And so, we'll definitely go on when it's daylight. We've been working on this for a long time and excited to be able to make the announcement. And so we will definitely have some pictures. You'll be able to follow us along on the process because we've got some cleaning and some work to do in there as we move and transition stuff from here over to there, the new displays, that sort of thing. And again, if you don't mind, we will be asking some polling questions because those do kind of tend to go a little more toward our daytime tours and some things that we're looking at because there's the possibility of needing to sort of restructure with that. So if you don't mind, please watch our page, and if you would answer our polling questions, because that's really going to help us as we're transitioning and adding this to the accessibility that people will be able to have.
And I noticed a lot of people over there are talking about Selly. Selly doesn't play well with other cats. She's very possessive of her properties, and she is our number one mascot, our number one employee, our number one CEO, anything else you want to call her. She's the head of everything. So we may not be getting a new cat, but she will be with us wherever we're at. So whether we're at the bank, she'll become Selly the bank cat. She's here. She's Selly the jail cat. But, she doesn't, she likes to be a solo act.
We could have one and name it Penny.
Oh, Penny's a good one. Penny's a good one. Now she's getting mad, y'all.
She's
she's coming up here.
I mean, there's there's a reason I have a third cat at my house because thank you, ma'am.
Shelly's like, what are we talking about here? I heard my name mentioned.
because definitely we had a little stray show up that we believe was probably one of her babies, and she did not like it. We tried to give her a friend and a cellmate down here at the jail, and it just wasn't having it. So he ended up at my house, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Melissa. She says that Penny is cute. Oh goodness, more cats. We are on cat overload here, but yeah, Sally, don't worry, everybody. Sally will be obviously taken care of. She's going where we go. So whether or not we have our offices here in the jail or over in the bank building, she's definitely going to be high on our priorities of how we structure what we're going to do. So everything we do here right now is with Sally in mind. So don't worry about that.
Yeah. And like I said, we'll give you the official anticipation date of when we're able to utilize this and officially have it open. It's probably, since we just got the keys, probably looking like it's going to be more along the March side of things. But, you can help us get that open quicker with the fact that, we are open Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays for our general admission daytime tours. If you have a group or if you're traveling, we definitely don't want to leave you out in the cold. So if you're traveling on one of those days that we're not open, we have many, many ways that you can reach out to us. Either give us a call on the numbers that we have on the door, email us, message us. We got lots of different ways, and we would be more than happy if we're in town here to come over within 15 minutes and open the door for you and allow you to take a tour. Mm-hmm. Also, don't forget about our after dark tours. We are offering those every single night. We had a team here last week that took advantage of the 2 extra hours that we're offering from the start of the year up until March 10th, taking advantage of that extra dark time. And so you can come in and you can investigate the jail from 7:30 p.m. Eastern time till 4 a.m. in the morning. So you can come in and do that through March 10th. So get those dates booked. That time is running out, and other dates throughout the year. I mean, we have those open. We will be open the remainder of the calendar very, very soon. And so we do have it open through the end of August. And so if you've got these dates, I know, tax returns, all that good stuff's going to be coming in. So book those dates after you've recovered from Christmas and come spend the night with us here at the jail and at Historic Rugby After Dark.
Mm-hmm. And we do have a full complement in our gift shop now of the Sally Paw and Order shirts. So we have every size up to 3XL.
Hoodies.
We have a full complement of hoodies, every size up to 3XL. Hats, puzzles, soaps, we have it all here. So take advantage of that when you come. And then also Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we do have Valentine's selfies with Sally. So if you want to come and take a picture with her, it is free to do that, but we do encourage you to stay and just tour the jail. It's $10 a person with cash, 12 with card. So come get a picture with Sally in our little Valentine's frame and take a tour of the jail, because it's going to be a wet, rainy weekend. So come and tour the jail and say hello and snuggle up with Sally.
Yeah. So stay tuned to our page for more things coming up. We will be continuing with the Jailhouse Informant podcast. Actually, no. Special note, we will not have the Jailhouse Informant podcast next Thursday night. We both remembered at the same time.
Right?
And we who knows? We might just go live.
Yeah, we could
site.
go live.
We're going to be.
We may go live on site where we're at next Thursday, but we will not be here. We're going to be doing something. Sally, come on.
Yes. So we will continue with the Jailhouse Informant series Thursday after next at 7 p.m. Eastern time. If you're looking for something else to do here a little bit later tonight, I do have my podcast, Ghost Biker Garage, that starts at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to be talking to paranormal investigator and former police officer Rex Nielsen. And so he's going to be on the show, and it's going to be a great time. So if you're looking for something else to do, you can see that on the Ghost Biker Explorations Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Okay, and one last time, thank you to Elliot from the SDG Jail there in Canada. Great conversation, great walkthrough. Thank you for that. Thank you, everybody who's watched tonight. We've had a great night of people viewing. We just can't thank you enough for the support that you give us, for the jail, for Selly. It really does mean a lot to us. And then finally, thank you again to Mayor Dennis Jeffers and the Aldermen of Huntsville, Tennessee, for putting your faith in us and allowing us to have the bank building along with the jail. It really is a blessing for us that you trust us. So
yeah,
thank
and
you.
it's a testament to you folks that have been watching the show, sharing all this out, visiting us, our paranormal investigators. It's a real testament to that, because we have heard nothing but compliments from the government administration here about how respectful you all are to the properties and what you do for our community. So we're so thankful for that, and we're thankful that we have that to show out there to everyone. And that has been one of the things that's really allowed us to be in the position that we're in with here in Huntsville, as well as with Historic Rugby.
Absolutely. So y'all have a fantastic night. Go over and look at the Ghost Biker Explorations website, the Ghost Biker Garage, in 30 minutes, and we'll see you maybe next week from a fun location.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Everyone.
Bye.
As my thing freezes up.